Welcome to Chapter 1, where we'll be going over management information systems. And here's the topics that we'll be covering: competing in the information age, the challenge of departmental companies and how MIS can help them meet those challenges. Then we'll go over business strategy. We'll look at Porter's models, the 5 forces model, the 3 generic strategies, and value chain analysis. So one of the key points in Chapter 1 is the information age and the differences between data, information, business intelligence, and knowledge. But we live in the information age when we have infinite quantities of facts that are widely available to anyone who can use a computer. The core drivers of the information age include data, information, business intelligence, and knowledge. Data are raw facts that describe the characteristics of an event or an object. Information is data that's converted into meaningful and useful context. Business intelligence is information collected from multiple sources used to analyze patterns and trends and applied to strategic decision-making. Knowledge includes the skills and expertise coupled with information and intelligence that creates a person's intellectual resources. As you move from data to knowledge, you include more and more variables for analysis, resulting in better and more precise support for decision-making and problem-solving. Another key point is the concept of systems thinking and how management information systems enable business communications. A system is a collection of parts that link to achieve a common purpose. Systems thinking is a way of monitoring the entire system by viewing inputs being processed to produce outputs and gathering feedback that you can use to tune your system. Feedback is information that returns to its original transmitter and modifies the transmitter's actions. Feedback helps the system maintain stability. Management information systems is a business function, and it moves information about people, products, and processes across the company to facilitate decision-making and problem-solving. MIS incorporates systems thinking to help companies operate cross-functionally. So to fulfill product orders, for example, a management information system for sales moves a single product across all functional areas. Although different functional areas handle different parts of the sale, MIS links them all. Why are competitive advantages temporary? A competitive advantage is a feature of a product or service on which customers place a greater value than they do on similar offerings from competitors. Competitive advantages provide the same products or service either at a lower price or with additional value that can fetch premium prices. Unfortunately, competitive advantages are typically temporary because competitors often quickly seek ways to duplicate what you've done. In turn, organizations must develop a strategy based on a new competitive advantage. Ways that companies duplicate competitive advantages include acquiring the new technology, copying business processes, and hiring away employees. One way to help develop a strategy is to do a SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And these are the 4 key areas of SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis enables an organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to identify significant influences that work for or against business strategies. Strengths and weaknesses originate inside an organization or internally. Opportunities and threats originate outside an organization or externally and cannot always be anticipated or controlled. Porter's 5 forces model is one of the key analytical tools for helping derive strategies. And there's 5 forces, obviously, in that model. And his model analyzes these competitive forces within the environment to assess the potential for profitability in an industry. Buyer power is the ability of buyers to affect the price they must pay for an item. Supplier power is the supplier's ability to influence the prices they charge for supplies. And this includes things like materials, labor, and services. The threat of substitutes is high when there are many alternatives to a product or service, and low when there are few alternatives. And the threat of new entrants is high when it's easy for new competitors to enter a market, and low when there are significant entry barriers. Rivalry among existing competitors is high when competition is fierce in a market, and low when the competition is more complacent. There are 3 generic strategies that an organization can follow once they've determined the nature of the environment with the 5 forces analysis. The first is they can have broad cost leadership. In other words, they're the lowest cost producer. If they can't be the lowest cost producer, then they can have a differentiation strategy where they offer some characteristics or aspects to their product or service that are unique and are perceived by the market as adding value. So then they can charge more than the lowest cost producer because they have that differentiation, those features that the others, the low cost producers, do not have. Or you can have a focused strategy where you don't look at broadly differentiating yourself throughout the entire spectrum, but you look at a focus where you look at a target niche, and then in that target niche, concentrate on cost leadership or differentiation. Once you've gone through Porter's 5 forces analysis and determined the profitability of a market niche, and then you've determined the strategy you'll use in that market niche and you're operating, then you'll use Porter's value chain analysis to continually reorient your firm so that it's competitive. So to identify competitive advantages, Porter created this value chain analysis, and it views a firm as a series of business processes that each add value to the product or service. The goal of value chain analysis is to identify processes in which the firm can add value for the customer or create a competitive advantage for itself. The value chain groups a firm's activities into two categories: primary value activities and support value activities. Primary value activities acquire raw materials, they manufacture, deliver, market, sell, and provide after-sales services. Support value activities along the top of the value chain include firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and procurement. Of course, these activities support the primary value activities. Okay, let's look at the first case study. It's on page 3 of your textbook, and it's the IoT case study. So go ahead, spend 15 minutes to read that case study, and then we'll go over a series of questions, and I'll provide, answers to those questions. So go ahead, let's start now. Spend about 15 minutes to read that case study. Welcome back. So, what is the Internet of Things? And list 3 IoT devices. So imagine your toothbrush telling you to visit a dentist because it detects a cavity. That's one example of an Internet of Things device. Also, how would you react if your refrigerator placed an order at your local grocery store because your milk and eggs were about to expire? About 20 years ago, a few professors at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology began describing the Internet of Things, which is a world where interconnected, internet-enabled devices or things can collect and share data without human intervention. Another term for Internet of Things is machine-to-machine, which allows devices to connect directly to other devices. With advanced technologies, devices are connecting in ways not previously thought possible, and researchers predict that more than 50 billion IoT devices will be communicating in the next few years. So, why is it important for managers to understand the data collection rates from IoT are increasing exponentially? Well, managers in the future are going to be tasked with analyzing these terabytes of data right on their desk. And that's something new to industry. With machine-to-machine data, managers are going to have access to incredible amounts of business intelligence if they know how to handle it. So, demonstrate how data from an IoT device can be transformed into information and business intelligence. IoT devices provide science fiction-like quantities of data that'll be widely available everywhere. Data are raw facts that describe the characteristics of an event or object. Information is data converted into meaningful or a useful context. Business intelligence, or BI, is information collected from multiple sources such as suppliers, customers, competitors, partners, and industries, and it analyzes trends or patterns and relationships in that information and feeds it into a strategic decision-making process. analyze the current security devices associated with IoT. So, privacy is one of the concerns. How can a device ensure the wrong user is not accessing the data? Privacy, we have the tracking the devices can be done by anyone is a problem. So IoT devices at this point can generally be tracked by just about everyone. Devices can be hacked by hackers, just like any other technology, and viruses can be developed for these IoT devices as well, just as they can for any other technology. So, propose a plan for how a startup company can use IoT device data to make better business decisions. Well, IoT data, in other words, data about the environment, competitors, suppliers, distributors, IoT data from these market segments feed into Porter's 5 forces model to analyze an industry to determine how attractive it would be to enter. Once determining if it would be profitable to enter a certain industry, the company would need to determine which of Porter's 3 generic strategies to follow to ensure success. And then once the company is up and running, it can use Porter's value chain analysis to examine and redefine its business processes to ensure it is operating as efficiently and effectively as possible. IoT devices can be used in any of these areas to track data on correct functioning, usage, malfunctions, locations, patterns, and activity. All of these would provide tremendous insight into how the market is using the device and how the market views the device. And hopefully these are in line with corporate strategy. So how would we argue for or against the Internet of Things is just a passing fad? Well, I think just the exponential growth in Internet of Things devices out there shows that it's not just a passing fad. It didn't just rise and then start falling dramatically like fads do. This has risen and keeps rising, and it keeps rising faster and faster. It's also spreading into more and more areas. We now have things like the Internet of Medical Things, and we'll soon have the Internet of other functional area things because they're so important to performing at peak efficiency in these areas. Okay, our second case study is The World is Flat case study by Thomas Friedman, and that's on page 37 of our text. So read through that, and we'll come back after 15 minutes and go over the questions in that. Welcome back. So first, let's describe globalization 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Globalization 1.0 started when Christopher Columbus discovered that the world is round and the world shrank from large to medium. Data would include all the attributes associated with trade over shipping routes. Globalization 2.0 began around 1800 during the Industrial Revolution, when the world went from medium to small. Data examples would include all the attributes associated with trade through corporations. And Globalization 3.0 began in early 2000, removing distance from the business equation. And the world has gone from small to tiny. Farmers in remote villages in Nepal carry iPhones to access the world's knowledge, say at Wikipedia, or stock market or commodity market closing prices at Bloomberg. Data examples would include all attributes associated with trade via individual people. So explain Friedman's flat world and the reasons why it is important for all businesses, small and large, to understand. The key message is the power of technology in business. You must understand that if you get nothing else out of your studies here at Shepherd University. I tell all my students that my goal in life is to never see them making a terrible strategic decision and going in a bad direction by ignoring technology. If you pay attention in this course, you can avoid making a bad decision and going down an embarrassing direction in your business. Demonstrate how people competing for jobs in a flat world can create competitive advantages to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. Learning about information technology and how to use IT to gain a competitive advantage is key. Most organizations operate using technology, and understanding how business and technology relate is key to helping those businesses. A negative of the flat world is that in a flat world, it is far more difficult to get a job because competition is increasing at an incredible rate. There are 4 billion people online, and in the future, competition is going to dramatically increase. A positive of the flat world is that students can now perform a global job search right from their apartment. Students in Shepherdstown can accept jobs all over the world without ever leaving their apartment. They can even work remotely and continue to live in Shepherdstown while working for a company based in Japan, for example. So analyze the current business environment and identify a new flattener not mentioned in Friedman's list. Well, of course, the answer to this question can vary. A few examples might include cheaper technology. Laptop prices have dramatically decreased. And so have the introduction of new form factors like smartphones and smart tablets, which give you nearly the same capabilities as a laptop. So this allows more people to access the internet and to perform analysis all across the world. Video phones and collaboration tools using face-to-face technologies, even when they're in different parts of the world, are another feature. And another example might be voice over IP that is a cheap alternative to traditional long-distance carriers. So propose a plan for how a company that's starting up can use any of Porter's strategies to combat competition in a global world. Well, we can have the company use Porter's 5 forces model to analyze an industry to determine how attractive it would be to enter. Then once we determine if it would be profitable to enter a certain industry, you would then need to determine which of the 3 generic strategies to follow: low cost, differentiation, or focused. And then once the company is up and running, it can use Porter's value chain analysis to examine and redefine its business processes to ensure it's operating as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Okay, thank you.